content of this.
From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.
Welcome into CST Daily. I'm Tina Nguyen. Thanks for joining us today as we make our Fox Chicago Plus debut. CST Daily will be airing right here on Channel 50 every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It will be the off season with Cassie Carlson, all happening at 6 p.m. Let's get right into this show because from Chicago to the big leagues, FS1's Danny Parkins has become an influential voice in the sports world. With less than 2 weeks till NFL free agency begins, he joined us earlier today to discuss what moves Ryan Poles should be making.
All right, well, we are fresh off the NFL Combine, and I'm sure by now everyone's back in their buildings ready to make some moves because free agency begins in less than 2 weeks. FS1's Danny Parkins here with us for his weekly segment here on Fox Chicago. Danny, we learned a few things about the Bears at the Combine, who the Bears are getting calls about, them granting Tremaine Edmonds permission to seek a trade. We also learned that Ryan Poles likes the depth at the edge position in this draft class. First off, what do you think they do with the 25th overall pick? Do you think they actually use it to trade down? What do you think happens here?
Well, I mean, I think it certainly could be the centerpiece of a trade. I don't know about trading down or anything like that, but I think if Max Crosby is available, I think that the 25th pick is going to be prominently featured in that discussion. Maybe they'll just try to sign Trey Hendrickson if he hits free agency, but normally your first round pick is this massive asset because we've talked about they need a franchise quarterback with it, or it's a top 10 pick. With the 25th pick in the draft, it's not as premium of an asset. So I do think it's much more likely to be moved by Ryan Poles, who we've seen is very willing to make deals.
Albert Breer said moving Max Crosby could happen as soon as this week there for the Raiders. And apparently the Bears are one of 7 teams to be keeping tabs on his availability. I'd imagine if I am Spytech in Las Vegas, you want a fair trade for Max Crosby. What is a fair trade here for Crosby? Because there are some people that are saying, he could cost more than the Micah Parsons deal.
Yeah, that will not happen. I also see people saying that, but allow me to be the first to report that won't happen. Micah Parsons is younger, by a couple of years. So now it is true that Crosby is under contract and Micah needed to be traded for and then signed to the largest contract ever. So that is definitely true. But Max Crosby will probably want some sort of contract extension also. Myles Garrett got a contract extension when he was a little older than Max Crosby. So I don't think that you get Max Crosby and there's no new money attached to it. Not as much as Micah, but it will not cost a premium player and multiple first-round picks to get him. I think the trade that Bill Barnwell proposed, makes a decent amount of the 25th pick in DJ Moore. I think other teams could maybe beat that price. I do think it's going to cost a lot to get him, but it will not cost as much as it costs for Micah Parsons.
Yeah, the age is what concerns me about Max Crosby. And also, 8 surgeries in the past 7 seasons, right? That's also a bit of a concern to me, too. Okay, speaking of trades, Tremaine Edmonds, Bears obviously giving him permission here to go out and seek a trade. Obviously, the cap space they would free up if they trade or cut him is significant for the Bears. If they're able to find a trade partner for Tremaine Edmonds, what do you think they should get back for him?
Listen, when you telegraph it like this, it's usually a precursor to we're going to cut you, for the cap space. So you're not going to get much. Ryan Poles would do it immediately, I would imagine, for a 5th round pick, So because also, it's a 7-round draft, but with guys going back to school now, we've seen that the 7th round picks have basically no value. 6th round picks have basically no value because the drafts are not as deeper because more of the good players are going back to college to make a couple $1 million as college football players. So, there's not 210 plus NFL caliber players in a draft every year. So those real late round picks have almost no value. So I think he would be thrilled with a 4th. He would accept a 5th. But my guess is also when you tell a player like this that you're going to cut him, if you go seek a trade. If you can't figure out a trade, we're probably going to cut you. The rest of the league knows that they're going to cut him also. So my guess is Tremaine Edmonds ends up getting released instead of cut. That'd be my guess.
I don't think he's lived up to the hype of his 4-year, $72 million contract. Okay, I'm curious for your thoughts on this. DJ Moore. Obviously, he carries a massive contract, right? Do you think potentially trading him would unlock things for the Bears more so this offseason?
Well, I mean, it depends.
And I ask because I feel like even without him, this offense could still be explosive next season.
Okay. So a couple things. Like I think the Bears are going to go into next year trying to be the number one offense in football. Like I think that will be their stated goal. Now there's probably 12 other teams that feel like if things break right, they can have the best offense in football. But you don't get better losing DJ Moore, and so that task becomes more difficult. But can you use his resources elsewhere? Like I said in the Max Crosby trade, right? Like you have more depth at receiver than you do at D end. So if you could get a veteran pass rusher for a veteran receiver, I think you make that trade 10 times out of 10. While it is true that DJ Moore has been oddly lacking in production with Caleb when he was so good with lesser talents at Carolina and Chicago, Luther Burden and Rome Odunze are still really young. Like, DJ Moore is a pro's pro. He's tough. I think that they still have things that they can learn from him. Now, you don't want $28 million to be a player coach. Like, he needs to be more productive than he has been. So if DJ Moore's on the team, it's not a bad thing. But I do think that Ryan Poles is going to pretty aggressively look to reallocate those resources. So I said it the day the season ended. My gut tells me DJ Moore plays week 1 for a different team next year, but it's pretty close to a 50-50 proposition, I would say.
Were you surprised to hear that the Bears were also getting calls about Tyson Bagent? I mean, there are teams out there that are quarterback needy as well. But one, I feel like they've made it pretty clear that we value Tyson. We put in the time, the development with him too. So if we trade him, like the price needs to be right. And what we get back is going to need to be right as well.
Well, I will say this is a story that Bears fans have literally no familiarity and understanding with. Like, having too many good quarterbacks has literally never been the problem in the history of the franchise. So like the idea that 2 of the 32 best in the NFL happen to be on the Chicago Bears is basically an unprecedented situation in the history of professional football. So I think that a backup quarterback who you think can win games with is a very valuable thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Bears absolutely believe that they can win games with Tyson Bagent. So, if you could get a second-round pick for him, I think you do that, obviously, because the old line, and I can't say it verbatim, but Tom Moore, the old coordinator for the Colts, said that the Peyton Manning's backup never practiced, and they said, why doesn't Peyton's backup practice? And he goes, well, because if Peyton goes down, we're effed, and we don't practice effed. And so, like, I do think that there is something to be said of, like, if the goal is the Super Bowl, and you're not going to win the Super Bowl without Caleb, then you may as well move Tyson Bagent for a pick that you can turn into an offensive lineman or an edge rusher to try to help Caleb win a Super Bowl. So I have no doubt, this is a long way of saying, I have no doubt that the Bears are taking calls or would take calls on Tyson Bagent, but they are not going to move him for like the 100th pick in the draft, because the ability to go 500 with Tyson Bagent, if Caleb Williams misses a month, is a very, very, very valuable commodity in this league.
Totally. Let's keep it here on the offense, and final few questions for you. I want to ask you about the left tackle position, because Dan Rochar was on a podcast recently and essentially was saying that the options that we have in the building, they're not super sold on them. Like, they've got characteristics, however, these guys are not consistent. And he wasn't sure if they really had the assets to really go out there and get a left tackle. So are we undervaluing, obviously, Ozzy Trapillo? They're expecting him to not be available for a large part of next season as he rehabs from the knee injury. But when you've got Braxton Jones, Theo Bennett, to me, he's really a swing tackle. What are your thoughts on what the Bears should do at the left tackle position? And here we are talking about the left tackle position again.
Yeah, listen, I mean, so you can't have a perfect football team. It's impossible. It's a salary cap sport. Every team is going to have holes. The left guard to right tackle, all 4 guys played at least 90% of the snaps last year. Like, that is a remarkable amount of talent, health, and consistency. That probably won't happen again. Like, someone is going to get hurt. So you are going to have a worse right 80% of your offensive line, and you've got a question at left tackle, as you mentioned. So, like, are you going to be able to plug all of those holes, though, in one offseason? No. Like, someone's going to need to get better. Someone's going to need to get coached up, and someone's going to need to overachieve. Like, maybe a third-round pick, Ryan Poles, you're a former offensive lineman. Hit on someone, like find a diamond in the rough. Like you're not going to be able to go out and get a $25 million a year left tackle when you've got the problems that you have in your front seven and you need to save your money for your premium offensive pieces. Like, so it's just, that is likely to be a question mark week 1, week 6, and week 18 of next year. And because you're not going to be able to throw premium resources at every issue on the team. That's just I mean, the Super Bowl champions have had question marks. You know, every team has question marks, and the Bears just have one at left tackle right now.
Danny Parkins, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tina.
Always great to have Danny Parkins there joining us. All right, we need to take a quick timeout. Coming up next, we head to Lincoln Park, where DePaul has taken the Big East by storm with Chris Holtmann. Our conversation with him next, right here on CST Daily.
Hi, I'm Brent.
Morgan.
Welcome back to CST Daily. I'm Tina Nguyen. What a turnaround it's been for DePaul men's basketball, a team that has now won more Big East games this season than the previous 3 years combined. This isn't just progress, it's a statement. And the man leading the charge, head coach Chris Holtmann, who in just 2 seasons has brought belief, restored culture, and made DePaul basketball relevant again in the Big East. Well, Coach, 2 seasons here at DePaul, and you have completely turned things around. You got people talking about DePaul hoops.
We do.
What has it taken to revive this program?
We've got great kids. Tina, we've got great kids who have really cared about this challenge in front of them to change the narrative, the story, the thoughts, the thinking around DePaul basketball and what it could be. And I give our players and staff a ton of credit for that.
You've coached at big-time programs, Ohio State, programs with a really big basketball culture like Butler as well. How have those experiences helped you to take on this challenge?
You know, I think any step along the way, this is my 4th head coaching job. I started at a mid-major in North Carolina, Gardner-Webb, a really tough job. That helped me. It's helped me here. It helped me along the way. And then Butler, as you mentioned, Ohio State, and now here. You know, each journey you're learning, you're growing as a coach. I've been fortunate to have a lot of success along the way, but it always comes back to having the right people in your organization and people that are about the right stuff, that care about putting the team first, the program first, that are daily, hard workers, that understand the process. It always begins there.
Can you peel back the curtains with me a little bit and take me through the process of really coming to a program and rebuilding it and really establishing a culture and a standard here?
Well, when we got here, we noticed that there was just, it had been kind of a little bit of a dormant program for the better part of a couple decades, really. It's been a lot documented that we're of all high major programs, we've got the longest stretch of not going to the NCAA tournament. Our average Big East wins have been about, 3.5 a year over almost 20 years. So we're sitting at 8 right now. It's the first time since 2007. What we really try to do, Tina, is just bring tremendous energy and some of the small successes that we had these first 2 years and celebrate them with our students, celebrate them with our great fan base that really cares, and enjoy those moments. It's just kind of build into a crescendo now here as we get close to finishing year 2.
I remember last season when UConn head coach Darren Hurley said that when he watched the film against DePaul in Wichita Falls there, he could see the culture changing in the way the players were really playing. For you personally, when did you sense that turning point?
It's hard to pinpoint one moment, but I think what we tried to do in year 1 was establish a level of competitiveness that people that played against us would say, yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
That's a different experience than what we've seen with DePaul in the past. I think we accomplished that in year 1. We still got beat a lot, and we still struggled at times, but I think we accomplished that in year 1. Year 2, we wanted to shrink that competitive gap, and we've been able to do that. And then I think a byproduct of our players' collective buy-in and their buy-in to try to say, hey, we want to leave a legacy here. We may only been here 2 years, we'll be here 3 years, 1 year, but we want to leave a legacy. When we leave here, we want to say, hey, DePaul's better because we were here. In this day and age where guys are transferring all the time, you're trying to get them to believe in something bigger than themselves. We do have a group that's really bought into that.
Let's talk about this group that you have right now. What makes them so fun to coach for you?
I think they have just, one, they play really hard. And that's not a given. I've like I said, I've been doing this for a while. It's not a given on every team that you coach that you have a group that's going to play hard. I think it's been fundamental to this group. We're one of the best defensive teams in the country. We're one of the best defensive teams in the Big East. And a lot of that is because of our effort and our physicality. So we have a really hard-playing group. That makes it a lot of fun for a coach.
I understand that you and your wife, you guys bought lunch for the students at one point. You bussed some of the students as well out there for the Marquette game. Why is it important for you to maybe invest in the students and maybe bring that energy here to this program?
I don't know if our students have gotten more out of it or we have gotten more out of it, because to see them, they sent me a video last night of everybody at the game, 2 bus loads, thanking me and my wife and daughter for paying for lunch for them. And, at the very top of this, huge arena there in Milwaukee, and they're having the best time. And I think one of the jobs for us as head coaches is to engage with the student body in a really positive way. I would want that when my daughter goes to college. I'd want them to feel like there's an accessibility to the coaches there. And so I feel a real responsibility that I've really enjoyed getting to know our students. We've had students come to us. I just had one last week, and he set up an appointment to come meet with me, and he said, hey, Coach, I just want to thank you for what you and your team are doing for our school. I've been here 4 years. This is the best I've ever felt. That's a pretty rewarding meeting when you hear that.
2 games left in the regular season against Villanova and Butler, both at Wintrust Arena. What kind of statement do you want to see this team make to close out the regular season?
Keep playing well, keep playing to our identity, keep doing the winning things that have allowed us to put ourselves in position to win games. Even the Providence game we lost at home, we were in great position to win that game. So stay really consistent with that. It's fun to hear all the great energy and excitement around our program, but you got to have a little bit of tunnel vision too, and kind of ignore both when it's negative or positive. And there's a lot of positivity right now, but keep our blinders on, focused on getting better right now.
You mentioned this team, they're experiencing what it's like to win. What's the messaging to keep them grounded and focused when there is a lot of attention that's going to be coming to Paul's way?
Yeah, it takes great discipline. Same thing I tell my daughter, put your phone down, at times. Put your phone down, put it aside right now and just focus on, in her case, academics or whatever. In our case, focus on ball, focus on getting better, focus on what winning looks like. That's what I'll encourage and challenge them with. It's great. It's great for our school that there's a real positive energy, but we want to finish this thing well. And in order to do that, you got to be reminded of what got us here, which is, the winning stuff.
It all goes back to being present.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
Thanks for the time, and congrats on all the success.
Thank you very much.
DePaul getting set for the Big East tournament on March 11th through the 14th at the iconic Madison Square Garden. We need to take one final break. Coming up next, CHSN's Clay Harbor joins me as we talk Bears in the NFL Combine. That's all coming up next. Stay with us.
Chicago.
Welcome back to CST Daily. I'm Tina Nguyen alongside former NFL tight end and CHSN's very own Clay Harbor. Clay, let's talk about the Chicago Bears because there's a lot to talk about here. First off, they're tight against the cap space, so Ryan Poles has some work to do. We learned this past week at the Combine that the Bears are receiving calls for DJ Moore, Javon Dexter, Tyson Bagent, but they've also granted permission for Tremaine Edmunds to go seek a trade. What's priority number one if you are Ryan Poles?
I think you got to get rid of Tremaine Edmunds, and I hate saying it like that, but he was a solid linebacker, but he was not the third best linebacker in the league. He's getting paid as the third highest linebacker in the league. Tremaine Edmunds is making $15 million a year. That's the cap space you will clear if you trade him or release him. So if you can't find a trade partner, I'm sorry, you got to release him because you have more pressing needs at other positions.
You totally do.
You can take that $15 million, split it into $5 million a year each, and fill a defensive tackle position. Fill maybe a left tackle position. Fill maybe a safety position. You don't have one safety on the team, Tina. You got some holes that you got to fill, and Tremaine at this point, he's a guy that you really don't need as much as you do these other spots.
Okay, so realistically, though, what can you get back? What should you get back for Tremaine Edmunds?
Nothing. I'm sorry. You're not going to get anything back for Tremaine Edmunds. Solid player, like I said, but the league knows you're going to release him. So no GM is going to trade for a guy that's going to be on the open market when you can give him the deal that you want. You don't have to pay him as a third highest softball linebacker. He's probably going to get a deal closer to $10 million a year, maybe $8 million. Why would you pay him $15 to trade for him when you know he's going to be in the open market and you don't have to give up anything?
All right, let's talk about what the Bears are going to do when it comes to DJ Moore, because you and I both think that they should trade DJ Moore, although they're going to have a hard time finding a trade partner for him because of his massive contract. And two things can be true where you do value DJ Moore, right? He really delivered in some of those big moments. We saw it right against Green Bay.
Yeah.
But the contract, I feel like, holds this team back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think DJ is a heck of a player. He's a true pro. He's a good teammate. He played hurt. You could line him up anywhere. He's good with the motions, the shifts, learning this Ben Johnson offense. But here's the deal. You got younger players that are just as good, if not better than he is. And they're making a fraction of what he is. So when you're tied up against the cap and you got so many needs, you got to find a way to move on from this guy. But you said it, Tina. After the league year start, he's going to be guaranteed $40 million. So a team has to love DJ and be willing to pay him $40 million, which is a lot of money in the NFL. And I don't know if there's going to be that many takers. So you could hope for maybe a third, fourth round pick for a guy like DJ Moore. And I know Chicago fans will be like, third, fourth round pick? What are we talking about here? With the way his money's set up, with the cap situation, that's the best you could expect.
All right, let's talk about the left tackle position. Do you think we're kind of undervaluing the Bears' issue here at the left tackle position?
I'm not undervaluing it. I know how important it is. I played next as a tight end. I played next to those left tackles all game long. Those guys are very, very important because those pass rushers are so good, and especially you just look in the NFC North. You got a guy like Micah Parsons. You got a guy like Danielle Hunter. You got big-time players that you're going to have to go against week in, week out. Aiden Hutchinson. You need a solid left tackle, so Dan Rochar is going to have his work cut out for him because it doesn't seem like what we've been hearing that they're going to trade for a guy, they're going to sign a guy in free agent, or draft a guy high. So you got to hope that Theo Benedict takes a jump. Maybe they bring back Braxton Jones on a team-friendly one-year deal. He gets better after a year off of that injury, but I don't foresee them going high in left tackle. I think they're going to invest in that defensive tackle position and the edge rush position instead of going offensive tackle, left tackle. So Dan Rochar, get to work, earn that check.
But we have a lot of more faith in the offensive line and the options right now at left tackle for the Bears because of Dan Rochar and
Absolutely.
just the work that he was able to do this past season there with the guys on the offensive line. All right, let's talk about Maxx Crosby. First off, do you think it makes sense for the Bears to go after a player like Maxx Crosby? The Raiders are saying all the right things, where obviously they want him to stay with the silver and black there as they have a new head coach. But at the same time, if I'm the Raiders and if I'm Maxx Crosby, right, if I'm Max, I want to be on a team that's winning now, right? I'm almost 29 years old. I'm competitive. I want to play, and I want to play for a team that's going to actually go out there and win and not have the whole roller coaster ride of getting in a different head coach almost every season here. But if you're also the Raiders, you want a fair value back for him. So do you think it's realistic and it makes sense for the Bears to go after him?
I don't want to be the buzzkill here. I'm sorry,
But
Chicago.
you're going to be the buzzkill.
I'm going to be the buzzkill. The Bears are not getting Maxx Crosby, and here's why. First off, the cap hit is too large, and you don't want to give up maybe multiple high draft picks, including a first-round pick and another player.
Sometimes you just need to do a little outfit and hair change. That does it for us here on CST. We'll see you tomorrow night for First and North. Have a great evening.